Welcome back, everyone, to Walking the Talk. My name is Melissa, and today I have another fantastic guest here with me. His name is Gianmarco Marinello, and he is co-founder of Nai Nami, which is a business that's offering guided tours through downtown Nairobi through the eyes of former street children. Hello, Gianmarco.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you very much for having me.
I am so excited that we can make this happen because I think Nai Nami is a very special company and definitely different from everything I've seen and talked to so far. So I'm very excited. But first things first, I have a icebreaker game for you. A couple of rapid fire questions. So if you're ready, we can get started.
I'm ready.
Okay. Question number one. Are you a morning or a night person?
Night person.
Question number two. What is your favorite TV show?
I don't watch TV anymore.
Fair enough. Question number three. How long does it take you to get ready in the morning?
Ooh, that's a good question. It depends what time I wake up. When I'm in a hurry, it can go really fast because I have to be fast, but otherwise it can take 45 minutes.
Same. Question number four. What is the strangest thing you have ever eaten?
The strangest thing I've ever eaten was worms.
Ooh, okay. Do you have a pet?
No, not anymore. As a kid, I had an aquarium.
Oh, nice. If you didn't have to sleep, what would you be doing with that extra time?
I think I would just finish all the tasks that I always procrastinate.
How would your friends describe you in 3 words?
Funny, phew,
That's a tough one.
and interested in every topic, and analytic.
And now I forgot which question I was on. Oh yeah, question number 8. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower? I love that one.
My superpower would be to build bridges between people and cultures.
Beautiful. And last question, if you could go to space, explore the ocean, or visit 50 different countries, which one would it be and why?
Space. And space because I've always been very interested in the universe and quantum physics and black holes. So I would love to go there and see everything.
Nice. I think that's a great answer. And actually, I think this one is my favorite. Yeah, this one for sure.
Okay.
That was it. That was our little warm-up game. I think we're warmed up
Great.
a little. So, moving on to you and Nai Nami. Could you maybe say a few words about yourself? Who are you and what is Nai Nami?
So my name is Gianmarco Marinello. I'm Swiss from Zurich, 35 years old today. And I am a person who was always very interested in life in general. So I call myself an explorer. And this is basically my journey, my story when I look back. And I've done many different things in my life. I studied psychology, but then I really got off the path. I tried myself in various roles and with different employers until I ended up in Kenya founding the social enterprise Nai Nami. And today I'm also part of a startup. I work for a corporate in HR and also as a project manager for work integration for disadvantaged youth here in Switzerland.
Wow, you're definitely very busy. But I think that's something we have in common, being interested in many different things and involved in many different things as well. Um, And how would you, I mean, I tried to give like a one sentence summary of what Nai Nami is doing, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. What is Nai Nami doing, and how did it start?
So Nai Nami is a social enterprise, which means it's a normal company, but its mission and purpose is to create social impact. And what Nai Nami does is it offers an experience to tourists in Kenya, and we give this tourist experience of seeing town through the eyes of street children. And the purpose behind this, so my mission always has been to give disadvantaged youth from urban slums, like the Matare slum in Nairobi, to give them a better future free of crime. So all of the guys we are working with, they are former street children. And now through Nai Nami, they have a job and an income, and they don't have to engage in crime anymore because now they work as guides, storyteller guides who offer this storytelling tour to tourists in Nairobi, where they share their life stories and street skills that they acquired while living in the streets as street children.
I think this is definitely a very special business, because I've never seen anything quite like it before. And personally, I've never been in Africa, so I have to say it, I'm completely uneducated when it comes to slums and what life would look like in that sort of surrounding. So I had no idea about this before I talked to you. And I was actually also really surprised when you explained to me that what life of a street child actually means. So maybe you can explain it to the audience as well, like
hmm
give them a little bit of an idea of what does it mean to be a street child, and why is it so important to get away from this life of criminal activity to a life with a regular income, a salary, um, and a sustainable outlook on future.
Yes, I try because I always tell people I will never understand myself what it means to be a street child because if you've never been one, you will never know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, from the outside perspective, or what I've seen is street children in Nairobi have about 50,000 street children, and they are on the streets for different reasons. They run away from home, but there are different reasons for that, and they come from often from a poorer background and often from slums. And street children, they raise themselves on the streets in the city center, not in the slums. Of course, they come from there and often they go back and forth. But when you live on the streets, you will be in the place where all the hustling is taking place. You go to the busy roads, you go to the main areas where you can beg, and of course, at the later age, where you can steal and where you eventually can do robberies at the point when you made your career on the streets. And many of them die at an early age, of course, because of drug abuse, because of the police, because of mob justice when they get caught stealing. And it's a really tough life. So what they go through. And Nai Nami doesn't work with the children anymore. We work with young adults. They used to be street children, but at some point, when you are still alive at the age of 18, 20, 25, um, you are a professional criminal because you make your career on the streets. And but you don't have any other option because you lack of education, you didn't go to school, and you lack of formal skills, of course, and you have a criminal record. What else can you do than keep on stealing? There is no other
Mm-hmm.
option. And my goal was to give this target group, this type of young adults who used to be street children, but today criminals, to give them a better life through a regular job and income.
I remember you told me you went to Nairobi for your education, and you were actually there for quite a long time, not just a week or so, but 2 years, I
Yes,
think.
back and
Yes.
forth. I was there for 2.5 years. Yes.
Wow. So you also told me that you met these guys, Donga, Cheddaz, and Kissmart. I think those were
Yes.
the original 3 guides that you were working with. Now it's 8 guides, I think, in total.
Yes, exactly.
But so you explained to me you met them through, you know, I don't know, all kinds of things happened and you met them. Like these things happen when you stay in a place for that long. Um, was it your idea to start this particular business, these guided tours, or who came up with the idea?
Yeah, it was not my idea. So what I did, I learned in this education, I did the social innovation program, which it's called social innovation management. I learned this innovation process, and I followed this innovation process. Many people are familiar with it. It's also called design thinking, and this is what I did in the slum, meeting these 3 guides, and I co-created Nai Nami, the whole business model, and also the idea. I developed it together with them because they are the people concerned. They are the beneficiaries of Nai Nami. So how can I offer them a solution without having them on board from the beginning? So what
Mm-hmm.
happened, the whole process was we met on an eye level. So it was not me going there and telling them what I see and what the best solution for them would be. So I opened my mind. I went there to the Matare slum, meet with this. I met with different type of youth, with parents, with organizations, with everyone. I wanted to understand the environment first, and then when I came across these 3 guys, i I could ask them, what's your challenge, what would you change in your life, why, how, whatever, and then we developed the whole idea together. So the only thing that I did was I could see that they felt inferior. Of course, they were, at this time they were criminals. The society is looking down on them. People want to see them in a grave, to be honest. And of course, they feel inferior. They know they are just how people look at them is kind of like stray dogs in the city. Like they are not, they are a risk, they are a danger. And I always saw something else in them. I was really fascinated by their street skills because nobody else knows the city better than them. Nobody else has better stories to share than them. And also the energy they had. I was really inspired by it. And I shared this with them. So I told them, hey, this is what I see in you. But of course, this is not enough. So I wanted to prove it to them, and I told them this is an asset and maybe we can create something around this. So I changed their perspective on something they were never paying attention to or something they cannot know themselves. And this is how we came up with the idea of offering a storytelling tour in the city center, not in the slum, in the city center of Nairobi, where they raised themselves as street children, and they could share everything about their life and how they grew up on the streets while walking with tourists through the city. And this is how we started, and they were inspired by the idea, and of course they had to prove it to themselves first that I was right. So I connected them with some foreigners, and then they just started with this tour, and then they realized, hey, people are actually, they enjoy it. They even start paying for it, and this really improved their self-esteem, and also it changed their self-concept. So how they look at themselves today is completely different than it used to be.
I think this is probably the most beautiful story of entrepreneurship I've ever heard. Like really, that's kind of like my dream of what I think entrepreneurship could do as well. To have this kind of impact. I think this is, I don't even know how to describe it. This impact, like it's magnificent, I think. But I can also imagine, so based on what you explained, so on the one hand, their criminal record and their past really is a hurdle for them that they had to overcome, and also to build that trust relationship with you in the first place. Because I mean, I can only imagine, but like what I would imagine is from their perspective, oh, there's this white guy coming here and trying to change my life. And I can only imagine that that must have been the most difficult part for them as well, to build that trust relationship with you in the first place. Like, how can we know that we can trust him? How can we know that he will actually help us and that he doesn't just make empty promises? Was that something that you ever explicitly talked about with them, or did it just develop implicitly, if that makes any sense? I don't know how
Yeah,
to
it
ask this
happened
question.
naturally. But of course, as you just mentioned, that's the biggest challenge because these guys, they have lived their whole life on the streets. And something I learned or realized is what happens is you lose the skill of trusting someone. So you can never trust people anymore. Even if you want something, it's kind of broken in your brain, or that's at least what I saw in them. So on a rational level, they trust me, but on an emotional level, they can never trust anyone anymore, like fully to 100%. And at
Mm.
the beginning, at the time when they didn't know me, so I had to prove myself step by step, little steps. But I was able to connect with them on an as I said, on this eye level. So we met on an eye level. I was not never superior to them only because I was more educated or a foreigner or whatever. So we also met in their environment. So I was the one who asked questions. I wanted to learn from them. I was inspired by them. So it was actually the opposite. I was kind of a catalyzer. I was just giving inputs, and then I had to prove it to them that I am right what I am saying.
Mm.
And it worked out, but it's of course it's quite an effort. But I enjoyed this journey. It worked out well. At the later stage, once we noticed that the whole concept of the tours is actually working, and we decided, okay, now we found a company. Then we split the roles. Of course, my part was to um, to do everything with the company, like found the company, do the marketings, implement the processes and everything because they lack of these skills. But their responsibility was to facilitate the tours. So I um, never interfered there. So this is their business. They are the service providers, and I'm the business developer. Let's put it this way. And they know best how to guide a person through town. I never trained them. It was not necessary because naturally, from the beginning, they were the best guys in town because this is this core skill they have, which derives from being a street child.
I think that's
And
actually
this is
how it's supposed to be. Like, really, you embrace what people, well, either they have training for or what they know naturally the best, so to speak. I mean, I think that's kind of like not the secret to success, but like it's kind of obvious. But still, a lot of people don't do it. I don't know.
Yes, because we know. I never wanted to change them. So they are young men between 20 and 30 years old, and you cannot change a person at this age. Like you cannot, especially with such a background, you cannot make them an accountant at the bank. It's
Hmm.
impossible. And also, I didn't want to do this. So I wanted to build on their existing skills, on their identity, and when you look at it from outside perspective, so they used to be street children. They used to live on the streets in the city center, and now, as Nai Nami storytelling guides, they are still on the streets, but not as street children anymore. And they are still applying the same skills, their street skills, but not for stealing anymore, but for sharing stories, for sharing it with tourists and guiding them through this same street. So they are in the same environment, but they changed the role they have in this environment.
I think that's amazing. And you said that you were the one who really did like the business part, the typical business part, like registering a company and opening bank accounts, that sort of thing. So from what I understand is this was your first company, right?
Yes.
So how did you know all the things that you needed to take care of, especially in Nairobi? I mean, it's complicated enough for me. At least that's how I feel like sometimes, like figuring out in my home country in Germany what I need to do. And I can only imagine that if you go to a foreign country, that's next level, next level complexity. So how did you figure out all the things that you needed to do and how they work there?
Very simple. I always do the same. First, I Google by
Good
myself.
start.
So yes, then I know. So I try to get all the knowledge that I can by myself, and then I try to find people who can answer my questions. And
That makes
that's it sounds simple, I know, but it is. And that's also what I did in Nairobi. So I asked friends I had there, Kenyans, like, how do I have to go about it? What would you recommend? Oh, we need a lawyer. Do you know a good lawyer? Stuff like this. So it's just figuring out step by step the small little steps in the process. But it's not that complicated, to be honest. Yeah.
That
Also in
was going to be
Nairobi.
my next question. So looking back on it, it wasn't as bad as it looked like in the beginning, maybe.
No. The most challenging part um, always was working with these youth, with our guys,
Mm-hmm.
because they are the legal owners of the company and the shareholders. So the company belongs to them. It's not mine. And
Mm-hmm.
they are also the final decision makers. And as I said, the lack of trust. So when I want to move on and move forward, they always question and scrutinize
Mm-hmm.
everything, also the small little things. And this didn't help. So this is a big obstacle when you work with such a group of people. This lack of trust. This really was a big obstacle. But this the other things like setting up the company, and yeah, maybe sometimes when we had to get a license, it was difficult because the institutions, they are not as fast as they are here, and when you come as a foreigner, of course, there are also other challenges sometimes, but then we found a lawyer who could help us out, so you always find ways.
So the most important part is making friends and trying to find people who know more about it than yourself.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
that's probably the global principle that can be applied everywhere you go. Thanks.
True.
Um, I forgot my question. Uh, Oh, yes, right. So I looked through your website a couple of times now, and there are lots of videos. I encourage everyone who's watching or listening to definitely check them out. They're amazing and really give a great insight of what it looks like. But I also saw that on the website you have a pretty big advisory board and a lot of partnerships as well. Um, can you explain who makes up this advisory board? What kind of people are on this advisory board, and why did you bring them on board in the first place?
Yes. um, I'm not even sure who is there now on the advisory board, because I haven't
One
checked
person
it.
for sure was the my previous guest, Manuel, who introduced us.
He is true. He is on the advisory board. True. Yes, he's a close friend of mine, and I'm also working with him in another startup now. So that's why I forgot that I put him there. But what I usually do is when people offer their services to Nai Nami voluntarily, people who want to support, not money wise, like with their knowledge, with their skills. Like Manuel, he really helped me with all this accounting, financial stuff. He put all the processes in place. All the structure. He was the one who was always talking to our Kenyan accountant because it's really not my turf, this accounting stuff. And I was so grateful. And he also helped me with the technical part of the website, because this is also not my main skill. um, and of course, people who support me like this, I put them on the website as an advisor, definitely. Yes.
I think it's
Um,
extremely valuable to find people like that who feel some sort of passion and connection to the project. Like those are the people, it's incredible what they can do for you sometimes.
yes, definitely. And it's so helpful, yeah, because you cannot do everything all by yourself. Yeah.
And the partnerships, I actually don't remember all the companies that were listed there, but I'm pretty sure I saw Airbnb, and I think I saw TripAdvisor.
Yes, correct.
Probably.
So
And
Nai
there were more.
Nami,
Yeah.
yeah, so we are, of course, we are, our tour is sold on different marketplaces. And as you mentioned, Airbnb Experiences is one of them, and TripAdvisor, of course. And I'm proud to say that we have become number one on TripAdvisor
Wow.
about 2 years ago, thanks to the 5-star reviews of our guests and clients. And
Wow.
yeah, this is nice, and this actually helps. Number one tour in Nairobi, not number one tour globally, of course, but in Nairobi we are number one tour on TripAdvisor. Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. So these partnerships, I don't know if you personally or just somebody else who was involved with Nai Nami, like did one of you approach these companies? Hey, can we do something together? Or did they actually become aware of Nai Nami and contacted you? How did that work?
Yeah, that's it's a good question. It's both. Of course, at the beginning, you sign up, you register as a supplier on these marketplaces, platforms like TripAdvisor, Airbnb, and there are other platforms like Get Your Guide and stuff. There you
Mm-hmm.
register, but on the other hand, of course, we build partnerships with existing travel agents and tour operators, tour companies in Kenya, like the biggest one in Kenya, and other tour companies. And some of them, they approached us because they heard about Nai Nami in Kenya and they wanted to partner with us. And now our experience is, for many of them, it's kind of a cherry on top. So people come to Kenya, they do safari for 2 weeks, and for the last 2 or 3 days, they will be in Nairobi, and then they come for our tour. And this is how they offer our tour in the whole package of the safari packages in Kenya. And this was
Wow.
my job, of course. I approach them, or if they reach out to us, I facilitate the whole process. But in the end, it's about the guys. They do it nowadays themselves. They share their story. It's the most authentic way. The most authentic one is when we go there together, like one of them and me combined. Then we have a nice story to share. But
The full
also they do it
package.
themselves. Yeah.
The full package. I also saw, actually, Manuel told me that when COVID hit, you also innovated Nai Nami in a way, because then you also included online tours. So now you don't actually need to be in Nairobi, which is still probably very difficult in terms of traveling. You can actually enjoy this tour online as well.
Yeah, this was a big challenge last year because I handed over the whole business to them in 2019, in February 2019, and it has worked very well for 1 year, for exactly 1 year, and it really picked, and they did an amazing job. They managed all the client bookings, the operations, and everything. And I was just here in Switzerland supporting with accounting sometimes and stuff like this, and sometimes marketing. But it has become a hobby. And then the pandemic hit us, of course, from one day to another, zero clients. And we are not an NGO. So we have to make revenue, we have to cover the cost, otherwise we go bankrupt. And what we had to do is we had to shift to online tours. Of course, we tried and to offer our Nai Nami storytelling tour online. So when you book an online tour, it means you are connected from your home through Skype, Teams, Google Meet, whatever you prefer, with the guys. And then they have their selfie sticks, their smartphone, and then they do a private personal tour for you, and you will be connected with them on the screen, and you can ask all your questions. They show you around a bit, they share their stories, they share who they are, how they grew up. Yeah, that's a very intimate experience also online.
So it's literally then one of the guides walking, well, like showing with the selfie stick the surrounding to you, right?
Yes. Some, of course, it's not the same an in-person experience like an online experience, because the in-person experience is 3 hours walking tour in town, and the online experience is a 1 hour experience, because nobody wants to sit in front of a screen for 3 hours.
True.
So they show you around for about 45 minutes, so you have a better impression of the area. But then it's more about, also they share with you about the environment, interesting stuff, like you can see some food, you see different corners, you see people working, and they share the stories for everything a bit. And then at the end, you also they sit down and you talk to them face to face, and you can ask all your questions, and they share more about themselves and what they do today, and
Wow.
everything you want to know about their life.
That is indeed very intimate encounter that you can create with that. Wow. And did that, I'm just curious, how well did people receive this offer? I hope that makes any sense in English, but like how like you said, so the guided tours in person, they really picked up. There was a lot of growth, a lot of interest from tourists to take these tours. How was that with the online tours?
You mean how it picked with the online tours?
Yeah, my English, I don't know, I have a bad moment.
It's okay. So it's not the same. Like we did marketing for these online tours, but it helps us a bit, but it can never make up for the loss. And
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, people are now coming back to. It seems so. We are now in July. Now the bookings have picked. We are still not there where we should be, but I hope Nai Nami will now make it through the pandemic. So the bookings will increase from now on.
I really hope so too, because this is, like I said, I think this is absolutely incredible what this business has done for these guys, and how it really helped them to start a new chapter in their life. Um, and I would like to talk a little bit more on a higher level about this idea of like NGO versus for-profit company, that sort of thing. Because, like I said, I'm extremely uneducated in this area. But what I've heard or seen before we talked is that very often the cliche would be that somebody from the Western world goes to Africa, plants I don't know, some water supply somewhere and says, yay, we did something great. But then there's also increasingly, I talked to another person who told me that's not sustainable, because it's just, giving rather than, and giving is also a nice thing to do, but it's not sustainable because it cannot, renew itself. It always needs to be somebody else just giving it. And so I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what kind of benefits do you see in really trying to build this for-profit company versus an NGO, not-for-profit institution, to do something like this? I guess this was a very complicated way of putting it, but I hope
Yeah, I
my
guess
question
I get your
makes sense.
question. So I don't believe in helping someone who doesn't ask for help, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a very superior, almost narcissistic perspective then, like, okay, I'm better than you, I'm more educated than you, I have more money than you, and now I
Mm-hmm.
can offer you help.
Mm-hmm.
But this, why should a street child? Okay, let's put it this way. I always said, okay, if a street child who managed to survive on the streets from Nairobi at an age of 5 years, why? And is this person is still alive at the age of 25? Does such a person really need help? No. This person could
No.
actually help you to manage life because
Mm-hmm.
and it was not about helping people. It was, for me, it was always about changing something, f- create something cool, something fun that benefits both of us, them and me, myself, and changing something that it creates more value and it becomes more sustainable and more constructive. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But they've
Yeah, I
never
think that's a
asked
nice
me
way
for
to explain
help.
it. Mm-hmm. I think that that's a really good point, and there's a thin line, I guess, but there is a very clear difference between helping by giving or helping by let's create something like you said, fun and mutually beneficial together. There's a big difference,
Exactly.
thin line, but big difference.
But also, I'm not saying it counts for every situation and every person. I mean, there are people who need help, but then it's
Mm-hmm.
obvious. I'm just saying I
Mm-hmm.
would never go to a place that works in itself and try to change something by not asking the people first, or at least make, yeah, I'm call myself just the catalyzer, the facilitator, or the one who changed the perspective. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I think that
But
makes
they
sense. That
created
makes
it
sense.
and they can decide by themselves what they are going to do with this new input.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked now for Nai Nami. I'm not saying it will always work in other environments. Yes.
I think that makes perfect sense, and um, I find it interesting because I've heard this. I'm not shaming or anything anyone who wants to just give because they love giving. Absolutely not. It's incredible. If you can, if you have the resources, do something nice with it for sure. But I had this conversation, like I said, with one other person before, who told me that he was looking for something more than that, something more sustainable. So it really reminded me of you when we spoke. Like this fits really nicely together, and um, it's a very different kind of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, because it also, imagine, put yourself into their shoes. It's their business. They own it now. They take full responsibility. They are the service providers. And this is the real impact. It improves their self-identity, improves their self-esteem and everything. And this can only happen when they are able to create value. Otherwise, they would still be in this begging mode as they used to be on
Mm-hmm.
the streets. So I take what I can get. And now
Mm-hmm.
it changed. Like I offer
Mm-hmm.
something and people value my offer by giving me money for this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on a psychological level, much deeper. So I'm not interested in this is I'm just saying this is not me. I'm not interested in helping people, offering help. I'm more interested in helping people by changing their mindset and changing their self identity, self concept in a
I think
positive
that's
way.
amazing. Yes. No, absolutely. And like you said, that's a much deeper way of doing it, and also a much more sustainable way of doing it. Because I think you mentioned before that this business is also a way for them to give back and to inspire others. I think actually one of the trailers that I watched on YouTube also said inspire them and be inspired. So it goes in both directions. And you also explained to me that for them it's very important to inspire other street children, current street children, and to show them that there's something different that can work as well. There are options. There is a future, and that's true impact.
Yes, now they have become role models themselves to other street children and to other youth, because they are well known, and we have guides. They used to be really hardcore criminals and they changed within 2 weeks, and they've never gone back to crime anymore. And other that other people see this, like other street children, and it inspires also them. And the guides are also supporting them, like they are also trying to help them to change their life now, so they are giving back.
Mm-hmm. We are almost approaching the end of the
Yeah.
interview, but I do have two more questions that I really want to ask them. So, because like I said, the trailer also says "Be inspired," and that trailer was directed at the tourists, so people who might come there and do the tour. Why do you think is it important to show the world in a way, to show foreigners, other people visiting Nairobi, to show them this perspective on Nairobi? Because I think also in one of the there was a clip about an interview with a TV channel, and there it also said it's not. They also said it's not about the sightseeing per se. It's really about creating encounters, and that it goes in both directions. So why do you think for people coming to Nairobi from elsewhere is it important to see this and to hear this?
So so how I look at it is, what you get from this experience is, it is literally an experience that is fun, sad, exciting, dramatic, frustrating, everything all in one. It's a 3 hours movie with ups and downs. And so you can really, on this experience, you can really connect with life and your own life, because you can look at it from a different perspective. Because when you see these guys in person, you see how much energy, fun they have today, and you see what they went through before and how they managed to change. It always reflects on your own life. And so many people tell us they go back home with with so much inspiration for themselves. So I always say the impact is not even the 8 guides we have. Of course, it's nice, this impact, and me, I have my personal impact anyway. But I'm also saying we impact. Our impact is also so far we had 4,000 tourists from more than 100 countries from all around the world, and they go back home with these stories. That's also kind of an impact. So that's
For
why I
sure.
believe it's important that people come on this tour.
For sure, absolutely. And I love this description of the 3 hour movie. I think it fits perfectly. I mean, I haven't done the tour. I hope I get to do it in the future, but I think that really captures what I imagine it to be after everything you've told me. So I think that's beautiful. And I can tell you really put your heart and soul into this project. I can tell that. It's incredible, I think.
Thank you very much.
So the very last question I still have for you, and do you have any piece of advice or a message to aspiring entrepreneurs around the world, maybe also people who would like to do something with more impact focused ventures rather than only profit focused ventures? I mean, both can exist, of course, but like maybe you have something that you would like to pass on to them, that they might find useful.
Of course, I never separate these two fields, for profit, non-profit, impact, or whatever. I think it's the same, because it's just the field you work in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more interested in creating social impact than in I don't know, something else, a startup doing something else, but that's just me and my natural interest. So that's why I don't separate these two things. But what I always share with people who would like to create something by themselves or do something similar like me, what I always say is like, just do it. You have nothing to lose. You cannot fail. Because I realize looking back now, um, it doesn't matter what you start. After 2 weeks, you cannot fail anymore because within 2 weeks, you already met new people. You became an expert in a new field. You you extended your network. So many things are happening. You can only win. You take this with you, no matter if the business fails or not. It doesn't matter. So you can only win, and that's something you have to experience first. And it will automatically lead to the next step. Also, it doesn't matter if the business fails or not. So the fear of failure is really an irrational fear. And most important, you have an interesting story to tell, to share. So even if you after 4 weeks you say, no, this is not the right thing for me, and everything fails and goes, then you go back to your old job, but you have a nice story to share,
For
which is the
sure.
most important and also the most valuable.
For sure. And also really inspiring part.
So you can never
I
fail
think
as a person. That's what I say. Your business can fail, but not as a person. You can't fail.
I think that's a wonderful piece of advice, and I really hope that it will help many people. It definitely spoke to me, just like this entire interview. Thank you so very much for sharing all of this and being open and being here.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate also for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Do you, if anybody wants to connect with you or with Nai Nami, how can they do that?
Yes, so you of course connect with me on LinkedIn. So my name is Gianmarco Marinello. Just send me a message, and I'm happy, yeah, to help you or give you advice or just have a talk. I'm very interested in meeting new people all the time, and the website of Nai Nami is nai-nami.com. There you can also book an online tour or reach out to me as well and find more content about Nai Nami.
Nice. I will make sure to put all the links in the description box as usual. And that's it for today. Again, thank you so much for making the time for me. It was amazing and super insightful.
Thank you very much
And
for having me.
you're very welcome. Yeah, so thank you everyone who was watching today's interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did and found it inspirational. And I see you all next time. Bye.